The palace was silent, but the air crackled with a secret so explosive it threatened to shatter centuries of tradition. In the shadowed corridors of Buckingham, whispers raced like wildfire. King Charles and Princess Anne had done the unthinkable. Behind closed doors, they had signed a decree that would change the monarchy forever. Camilla, the queen consort, was to be ousted, and in her place, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, was poised to rise, stepping into the spotlight as the new power at the heart of the crown. The news hit the royal inner circle like a thunderclap. Courtiers exchanged stunned glances, their carefully maintained facades cracking under the weight of betrayal. The Queen's closest allies were left scrambling, caught between loyalty and the harsh reality of a palace coup. The very foundations of the monarchy trembled as the decree circulated, a silent but deadly weapon wielded by those who believed the crown needed a new face, one that could restore dignity, grace, and hope to a kingdom hungry for change. Outside the gilded walls, the world remained oblivious, but the palace was a powder keg. Every footstep echoed with tension. Every glance held the weight of unspoken alliances and simmering resentments. The stakes were higher than ever. This was no mere reshuffling of titles. It was a battle for the soul of the monarchy itself. And at the center of it all stood Catherine, calm and composed. Her rise no accident, but a carefully orchestrated move by those who saw in her the future of the crown. The whispers grew louder, the intrigue deeper. What seemed like a quiet night in the palace was anything but. What happens next will shake the monarchy to its core. But behind the gilded walls, a deeper battle for the crown was just beginning. To understand the gravity of this decree, one must first grasp the tangled web of history and power that defines the British monarchy. For centuries, the crown has been a symbol of stability, tradition, and national identity, a living institution that binds a nation together through ceremony, duty, and an unspoken promise of continuity. But beneath the polished surface, the royal family has always been a battleground of ambition, loyalty, and personal conflict. King Charles, the sovereign at the center of this storm, is no stranger to complexity. His reign has been marked by a delicate balancing act between honoring the legacy of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, and forging a path that reflects a modern Britain. Yet, Charles has long wrestled with his own demons, the shadow of past scandals, the weight of public scrutiny, and the challenge of uniting a family fractured by decades of private strife. His decision to sign the decree was not made lightly. It was a calculated move born from a deep conviction that the monarchy must evolve or risk irrelevance. Princess Anne, often overlooked in the royal narrative, emerges here as the principled enforcer of this new vision. Known for her unwavering dedication to duty and a reputation for blunt honesty, Anne has quietly wielded influence behind the scenes. Her alliance with Charles signals a rare moment of unity within the family, a shared resolve to protect the crown's integrity at all costs. Together, they represent a faction determined to cleanse the monarchy of what they see as corrosive elements. At the heart of the conflict stands Camilla, the embattled queen consort. Once a figure of controversy and whispered scandal, Camilla's rise to prominence has been anything but smooth. To many, she embodies arrogance and entitlement, a woman who, despite public efforts to soften her image, remains deeply unpopular with large swaths of the British public and even within the palace walls. Her presence is a constant reminder of past wounds and unresolved tensions. For Charles and Anne, Camilla's influence threatens not only the monarchy's reputation, but its very survival. And then there is Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge the rising star in this royal drama. With her poised elegance, genuine warmth, and growing public adoration, Catherine represents a new chapter. She is seen by many as the embodiment of hope and renewal, a figure capable of bridging tradition and progress. Her ascent is no accident. It is the result of careful cultivation by those who believe she can restore the monarchy's relevance in a rapidly changing world. This decree, then, is far more than palace gossip or a fleeting scandal. It is a seismic shift that challenges centuries, old traditions, and threatens to rewrite the monarchy's narrative. The stakes could not be higher. The crown's future hangs in the balance not just as a symbol of power, but as a reflection of national identity itself. The palace corridors may be lined with gold, but the battle unfolding within is raw, ruthless, and deeply personal. Loyalties will be tested, alliances shattered, and the very essence of what it means to be royal will be questioned. Yet the villainous arrogance of Camilla was about to ignite a royal firestorm. Camilla's story is one woven with whispers, shadows, and a relentless ambition that has both fascinated and divided a nation from the very beginning. Her rise within the royal family was anything but smooth. To many, she was the outsider, the woman who dared to step into a world steeped in centuries of tradition, a world that had never fully accepted her. But Camilla was no stranger to power. Behind the polished smiles and carefully crafted public appearances lay a woman who knew exactly what she wanted and was willing to fight for it. The public's opinion of Camilla has always been fractured. For some, she is a symbol of resilience, a woman who endured relentless scrutiny and personal attacks with quiet strength. For others, she is the embodiment of arrogance and entitlement, a figure who manipulated her way into the heart of the monarchy at the expense of loyalty and tradition. This division has fueled a constant undercurrent of tension, both inside and outside the palace walls. Behind closed doors, Camilla's reputation was even more complex. Insiders spoke of a woman who wielded influence with a subtle but iron grip, often clashing with those who dared to challenge her. Her ambition was palpable, and it frequently collided with the unspoken rules of royal conduct. Where tradition demanded humility and discretion, Camilla's demeanor was often perceived as brazen and unapologetic. She was not content to play a supporting role. She sought to shape the monarchy in her image. There were moments that revealed the depth of this conflict. At private gatherings, her sharp tongue and quick wit could cut through the polished veneer of royal diplomacy, leaving courtiers wary and uneasy. Her alliances within the palace were strategic, built on a foundation of mutual benefit rather than genuine loyalty. This transactional approach earned her both admirers and enemies, but it also isolated her in crucial moments. Camilla's relationship with King Charles was a lightning rod for controversy. Their history was marked by passion, scandal, and a public that never fully forgave the wounds of the past. Yet, despite the backlash, Camilla remained steadfast, convinced that her place beside the king was not just deserved but necessary. This conviction often translated into a cold determination that alienated those who valued tradition and loyalty above all else. Her perceived arrogance was not just a matter of personality, it was a political weapon. Camilla understood the power of image and used it to her advantage, projecting confidence even when the palace was rife with doubt. But this same arrogance sowed the seeds of her downfall. In a world where subtlety and restraint were prized, her boldness was seen as a threat, a challenge to the established order. The public's divided opinion mirrored the palace's internal fractures. While some admired her resilience, many saw her as a symbol of everything wrong with the monarchy, a reminder of betrayal, ambition unchecked by conscience, and a disregard for the sacred traditions that had long defined the crown. This duality made her a figure of fascination and fear, a villain in the eyes of those who longed for a monarchy rooted in dignity and honor. As the decree to remove her from power circulated, it became clear that Camilla's time at the heart of the monarchy was coming to an end. Her flaws, once overlooked or tolerated, were now magnified and weaponized by those who sought to restore the crown's integrity. The very traits that had propelled her to prominence, ambition, cunning, and a fierce will had become the cracks in her armor. But even as the walls closed in, Camilla refused to fade quietly into the background. Her fight was not just for power, but for survival. She was a force to be reckoned with, a storm that threatened to upend the carefully laid plans of her adversaries. Yet, standing firm against this storm was a hero forged by duty and resilience. Catherine's journey to the heart of the monarchy is a story of quiet strength, resilience, and unwavering grace, a story that resonates deeply with anyone who has ever faced adversity and chosen to rise above it. Unlike the gilded halls she now walks, her beginnings were far from royal. Born into a middle-class family in Berkshire, she grew up with values rooted in hard work, humility, and a profound sense of responsibility. These early lessons would become the foundation of a character that the world would come to admire. From the start, Catherine was never one to seek the spotlight. Her life before the palace was marked by a grounded normal, school days filled with friends, family dinners, and dreams that felt both ordinary and extraordinary. But beneath that calm exterior was a fierce determination to make a difference, to serve something greater than herself. It was this quiet ambition, paired with an innate kindness, that first caught the attention of those around her. When Catherine entered the royal family, the scrutiny was immediate and intense. Every gesture, every word, every glance was dissected by a public hungry for perfection and a media eager for scandal. Yet, through it all, she remained composed. Where others might have buckled under the pressure, Catherine's calm dignity shone like a beacon. She understood that her role was not just about titles or appearances. It was about embodying the values of the crown and connecting with people on a deeply human level. Her compassion became her greatest strength. Whether comforting a grieving family, championing mental health causes, or advocating for children's welfare, Catherine's genuine empathy broke through the barriers of protocol and tradition. She was not a distant figurehead, but a relatable, caring presence who inspired trust and admiration. This ability to bridge the gap between royalty and the public made her a symbol of hope in a time when the monarchy's relevance was being questioned. Catherine's grace under pressure was tested time and again. From navigating the complexities of royal protocol to managing the relentless media spotlight, she faced challenges that would have overwhelmed many. Yet she met each obstacle with poise and resilience, never losing sight of her purpose. Her strength was not loud or boastful. It was steady, unwavering, and deeply inspiring. Behind the scenes, Catherine worked tirelessly to prepare herself for the responsibilities that lay ahead. She immersed herself in the history and traditions of the monarchy, studied the nuances of diplomacy, and built relationships across the political and social spectrum. Her dedication was a testament to her belief that leadership was not a birthright, but a responsibility earned through service and sacrifice. Her rise was not without sacrifice. The demands of royal life meant long hours, personal sacrifices, and the constant challenge of balancing public duty with private life. Yet, Catherine embraced these challenges with a humility that endeared her to millions. She became a role model not just for future royals, but for anyone striving to lead with integrity and heart. As the monarchy faced unprecedented scrutiny and calls for reform, Catherine emerged as the natural choice to lead its next chapter. She represented a new era, one where tradition and progress could coexist, where the crown could be both a symbol of history and a force for positive change. Her story was not just about personal triumph, but about the possibility of renewal for an institution at a crossroads. The world watched as Catherine's influence grew, her every move carefully measured yet filled with genuine warmth. She was no longer just the Duchess of Cambridge. She was a beacon of hope, a figure who could unite a divided nation and restore faith in the monarchy's future. And now, as the decree was signed, Catherine's moment to rise was fast approaching the palace halls, once echoing with quiet dignity, now thrummed with tension. Behind the ornate doors of the private chambers, whispered debates spiraled into heated confrontations. Camilla's fury was palpable, her eyes blazing with desperation, her voice sharp and unyielding as she fought tooth and nail to cling to the power slipping through her fingers. Every word she uttered was laced with venom, every gesture a silent scream of defiance against the decree that threatened to erase her influence. She paced the room like a caged lioness, her posture rigid, shoulders squared as if to shield herself from the inevitable. The once composed queen consort was unraveling, her carefully constructed facade cracking under the weight of betrayal. Her hands clenched into fists, nails digging into her palms, a physical manifestation of the storm raging inside. Camilla's fury was not just about losing a title, it was about losing control, about watching the world she had fought so hard to enter slip away. Across the room, King Charles and Princess Anne stood firm, their expressions unreadable but resolute. Charles's eyes, heavy with the burden of kingship, betrayed a quiet determination. He was a man caught between loyalty and necessity, but in this moment, the future of the monarchy demanded clarity. Anne, ever the principled enforcer, radiated a steely calm. Her voice, when she spoke, was measured but unwavering, cutting through the chaos like a blade. She was the anchor in this storm, the voice of reason amid the rising tide of conflict. The air was thick with unspoken accusations and simmering resentment. Camilla's words grew sharper, her tone more biting, as she accused Charles and Anne of betrayal, of undermining the very institution they claimed to protect. But their silence was deafening. They knew that this was not a battle won with words alone. It was a war of wills, a test of endurance and resolve. Around them, the palace staff moved cautiously, sensing the fragile balance about to tip. Courtiers exchanged nervous glances, aware that the outcome of these private confrontations would ripple far beyond the gilded walls. The stakes were immense, not just for those in the room, but for the entire nation watching from afar. Camilla's desperation was matched only by her cunning. She launched a final, furious attempt to rally support, reminding Charles of their shared history, of promises made in quieter times. But Charles's gaze was steady, his decision clear. The decree was not just a piece of paper. It was a declaration of a new era, one that demanded sacrifice and courage. As the debate reached its crescendo, the tension became almost unbearable. Camilla's fury gave way to frustration, then to a flicker of doubt. The cracks in her armor were no longer hidden. Her once commanding presence faltered, revealing the vulnerability beneath the veneer of power. Meanwhile, Catherine's influence grew quietly but unmistakably. Though absent from the room, her presence was felt in every calculated move Charles and Anne made. Her calm dignity and growing public support were the unseen forces tipping the scales. The palace was shifting beneath their feet, and Catherine was the axis around which the future would turn. The confrontation ended not with a dramatic outburst, but with a chilling silence, a tacit acknowledgement that the old order was breaking apart. Camilla retreated, her fury simmering but contained, while Charles and Anne stood united, ready to usher in the change that the monarchy so desperately needed. But just when it seemed Camilla might strike back, Catherine delivered a stunning move. Catherine stepped into the spotlight with a quiet confidence that belied the storm swirling behind the palace walls. Every move she made was deliberate, every word carefully chosen, not just to soothe a nation hungry for stability, but to send a clear message to those who doubted her rise. This was no accidental ascent, it was a masterclass in strategy, grace, and unyielding resolve. Her first public appearance after the decree was signed was nothing short of cinematic. The world watched as she arrived at a community center in a modest London neighborhood, far from the opulence of royal estates. Dressed simply yet elegantly, Catherine greeted families with genuine warmth, her smile a beacon of hope. Cameras captured every moment, the way she knelt to speak with children, the tenderness in her eyes as she listened to stories of struggle and resilience. It was a stark contrast to the cold, calculated image that had long defined palace intrigue. The speech she delivered that day was heartfelt and unifying. Without overt political rhetoric, Catherine spoke of service, duty, and the power of compassion to heal divisions. Her words resonated deeply, echoing across social media platforms and news outlets worldwide. Hashtags like #Catherine for change and #hope in her hands trended within hours, flooding timelines with messages of support and admiration. Memes celebrating her authenticity spread like wildfire, turning her into a symbol of renewal, not just for the monarchy, but for a nation grappling with its identity. Behind the scenes, Catherine's team worked tirelessly to build alliances within the palace and beyond. Trusted advisors, long skeptical of Camilla's influence, quietly shifted their loyalty. Politicians, celebrities, and influential figures began to voice their support, recognizing in Catherine a leader who could bridge the gap between tradition and progress. The palace, once a fortress of secrecy, was now a stage for a carefully orchestrated campaign of transformation. Camilla, meanwhile, found herself increasingly isolated. The once commanding queen consort struggled to maintain her composure as whispers of Catherine's rising star grew louder. Her public appearances, once confident and assured, now carried a hint of desperation. Paparazzi caught fleeting moments of tension, furtive glances, forced smiles, and a growing distance from key royal events. The narrative was shifting, and Camilla's grip on power was slipping through her fingers like sand. Social media became a battleground. Supporters of Camilla launched fierce online campaigns, but they were met with overwhelming waves of admiration for Catherine's authenticity and grace. Viral videos of Catherine's speeches and charitable work amassed millions of views, inspiring a new generation to see the monarchy not as an outdated relic, but as a living institution capable of change. Influencers and activists praised her ability to connect with diverse communities, highlighting her immigrant-friendly initiatives and commitment to social justice. The media frenzy reached a fever pitch when Catherine made a surprise visit to a refugee center where she spent hours listening to stories of hardship and hope. The images of her embracing families, sharing meals, and advocating for inclusion became iconic. Headlines declared her the People's Duchess, a title that resonated far beyond the palace gates. This was more than a PR victory. It was a cultural moment that redefined what it meant to be royal in the 21st century. As Catherine's star rose, Camilla's confidence faltered. Rumors of palace infighting and power struggles leaked to the press, painting a picture of a queen consort on the defensive. Insiders spoke of late night meetings filled with tension, of advisors urging Camilla to step back gracefully, advice she stubbornly ignored. But the cracks were undeniable. The public's shifting loyalty was a silent but devastating blow. The climax came during a televised royal event, where Catherine's poised presence overshadowed Camilla's strained attempts at charm. The crowd's reaction was unmistakable. Cheers erupted for Catherine, while polite applause barely masked the unease surrounding Camilla. Social media exploded with commentary, memes, and heartfelt messages celebrating Catherine's triumph. It was a moment that crystallized the changing tide, a public endorsement of a new era. In the palace, the atmosphere was electric. Allies of Catherine moved swiftly to consolidate power, while Camilla's supporters faced a reckoning. The balance of power was no longer a secret, it was a public spectacle, a drama unfolding in real time before the eyes of a captivated world. Catherine's counterattack was not just a political maneuver, it was a moral victory. She had transformed doubt into belief, skepticism into hope. Her rise was a testament to the power of dignity, compassion, and unwavering commitment to service. The monarchy, once teetering on the edge of irrelevance, found new life in her steady hands, and as the dust settled, one truth became clear: the crown's future belonged to Catherine. The aftermath was immediate. The world watched as the monarchy's balance of power shifted forever. The moment Catherine's rise became undeniable, the world erupted in a chorus of reaction, an unstoppable wave of voices flooding social media, news outlets, and living rooms across the globe. The hashtag #CatherineRises trended relentlessly, a digital anthem for those hungry for change and hope. Tweets poured in by the thousands, each one a testament to the deep emotional connection people felt with the new face of the monarchy. "Finally, a leader who understands us," wrote one user. "She's the hope we've been waiting for," declared another. The online community became a vibrant tapestry of support, a collective heartbeat affirming that Catherine's ascent was more than just a royal reshuffle. It was a cultural awakening. Royal commentators, once cautious and reserved, now spoke with renewed conviction. Pundits dissected every gesture, every word from Catherine's recent appearances, framing her as the embodiment of a modern monarchy, one that could embrace diversity, empathy, and progress without abandoning its roots. Television panels buzzed with debate, but the consensus was clear. Catherine had captured the public's imagination in a way few royals ever had. Her ability to connect with immigrant communities, champion social causes, and maintain an unshakable dignity made her a unifying figure in a fractured world. Celebrities and politicians quickly took sides, their endorsements amplifying the seismic shift. Progressive leaders praised Catherine's commitment to inclusion and social justice, framing her as a symbol of a monarchy ready to evolve. Influential voices from across the political spectrum echoed the sentiment, recognizing that her rise was not just about royal power, but about the values she represented, values that resonated deeply with immigrant families, marginalized communities, and young people yearning for representation. Meanwhile, Camilla's supporters found themselves grappling with a crisis of faith. The Queen consort's once loyal base was shaken, their confidence eroded by the relentless tide of public opinion and palace politics. Social media groups that had championed Camilla's cause dwindled, replaced by heated debates and fractured alliances. The narrative that had once painted her as a resilient survivor was now overshadowed by whispers of arrogance and isolation. For many, the woman who had fought so fiercely to hold on to power was becoming a cautionary tale, a reminder that ambition without empathy could only take one so far. Within the palace, the shockwaves rippled through every corridor and chamber. Staff and courtiers, long accustomed to the delicate dance of royal politics, found themselves navigating a new reality. Alliances shifted overnight, loyalties tested as the monarchy's future hung in the balance. The old guard, once confident in their control, now faced an uncertain path forward. Catherine's rise was not just a personal victory, it was a challenge to the very structure of power that had defined the palace for generations. Public opinion polls reflected this transformation. Support for the monarchy surged, buoyed by Catherine's popularity and the promise of renewal she embodied. Monarchists who had feared the institution's decline found renewed hope, while reformists saw in her a bridge between tradition and progress. The monarchy's image, once tarnished by scandal and stagnation, was being rewritten in real time. The emotional resonance of Catherine's triumph was palpable. Across the nation, people felt a renewed sense of pride and possibility. Immigrant families saw themselves reflected in her story, a narrative of perseverance, grace, and the power to change one's destiny. Young people, often skeptical of institutions, found inspiration in her authenticity and commitment to service. The monarchy, long seen as distant and out of touch, was suddenly a source of hope and unity. Yet, beneath the surface of celebration, a quiet tension lingered. The palace was no stranger to upheaval, and history had shown that power shifts often came with unforeseen challenges. Catherine's elevation was a beacon of hope, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter filled with tests and trials. The world watched, captivated and hopeful, as the monarchy stood at a crossroads. The triumph was real, but the journey was far from over. But the true test of this new order was yet to come in the grand tapestry of history. Moments of upheaval often reveal the true character of those who rise to meet them. Catherine's ascent is not merely a chapter in royal drama. It is a profound testament to the enduring power of dignity, service, and integrity. In a world fractured by division and uncertainty, her rise shines as a beacon of hope, reminding us all that true leadership is born not from entitlement, but from unwavering commitment to a higher purpose. This royal upheaval was more than a battle for power. It was a reckoning with the values that define us as a society. Catherine's story embodies resilience, the quiet strength to face relentless scrutiny, to carry the weight of expectation without faltering, and to transform personal grace into a force for collective good. Her journey reflects the timeless truth that leadership rooted in compassion and authenticity can inspire change far beyond palace walls. At its core, this moment is a victory for justice. It is a reminder that no institution, no matter how steeped in tradition, is immune to the call for accountability and renewal. The monarchy, long seen as an unyielding symbol of the past, has been given a chance to evolve, to embrace the ideals of fairness, inclusion, and service that resonate deeply with today's world. Catherine's rise signals that the crown can be a living, breathing entity capable of growth and transformation without losing its soul. Her story also speaks to the power of integrity. In the face of fierce opposition and relentless challenges, Catherine remained true to herself and her values. She did not seek to dominate through force or fear, but through empathy, respect, and a steadfast dedication to the people she serves. This integrity has not only won hearts, but has redefined what it means to lead with honor in an age hungry for authenticity. For those who have felt marginalized or unheard, Catherine's journey offers validation and inspiration. It is a reminder that identity and heritage are sources of strength, not barriers to belonging. Her ability to connect across divides, whether cultural, social, or generational, embodies the inclusive spirit that the monarchy must embrace to remain relevant and respected. As the dust settles on this chapter of royal history, the lessons are clear. True power lies not in titles or privilege, but in the courage to serve with humility and the vision to uplift others. Catherine's rise is a call to all of us to hold fast to our values, to stand firm in the face of adversity, and to believe in the possibility of renewal even when the odds seem insurmountable. This is more than a royal story, it is a universal one. It speaks to the heart of what it means to fight for justice, to lead with compassion, and to build a future where dignity triumphs over arrogance and hope outshines despair. As the palace doors closed behind the old guard, a new era dawned. The story of King Charles, Princess Anne, Camilla, and Catherine is more than palace intrigue. It's a powerful saga about the fight for dignity, truth, and the future of a nation's identity. When Charles and Anne signed that secret decree to oust Camilla and elevate Catherine, they set in motion a transformation that challenges the very heart of the monarchy. It's a story of resilience overcoming arrogance, of grace rising above entitlement, and of hope lighting the way through turbulent times. This moment reminds us all that leadership is not about birthright or privilege. It's about service, integrity, and the courage to stand for what's right. Catherine's rise is a beacon for anyone who believes in justice, inclusion, and the power of authentic connection. It's a call to embrace change without losing sight of the values that bind us together. Now, we want to hear from you. What does this royal shift mean to you? How do you see the future of leadership unfolding not just in the palace, but in our communities and around the world? Join the conversation below. Share your thoughts, your hopes, and your stories. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that shape our world. Share this video with friends and family who need to hear this message of hope and renewal. Together, we can build a community that values truth, dignity, and the courage to change. The crown has passed to a new chapter. Will you be part of the story? Subscribe, share, comment, and let's keep this movement alive.